I'm Ruth and I've been sharing videos about my campervan travels in Scotland here on my YouTube channel. Before we get started, this video will be a bit different to my normal travel videos. I'm going to be talking about the topic of toilets, so I recommend you to watch another video if this topic is not for you. A while back I made a video introducing about my campervan toilet, and it's now been a full year that I've been using this toilet. In this video today I'm going to be going into a bit more detail about the toilet now that I have more experience with it. I'm also going to be answering some questions that were asked on the previous video, and I'm going to be sharing my long-term review of the toilet now that I've been using it for a full year. I've arranged for a giveaway as part of this video, so if you'd like to win your very own campervan toilet, make sure you stick around until the end of the video. I've travelled for around 5 years in campervans, both full-time and part-time, and I also have experience with quite a few different campervan toilets. So I've previously used a cassette toilet, the Nature's Head composting toilet, and a female urinal with the bivy loo. For the cassette toilet, I never enjoyed the experience of emptying that toilet because the number ones and number twos are mixed together with water and chemicals, and it just wasn't a very enjoyable experience emptying that for me. And for the Nature's Head composting toilet, it's quite a large and bulky toilet, and it also requires some DIY in order to install it. So you need to know how to do 12-volt electrics in order to hook it up and operate the fan. For the female urinal, I found that the capacity wasn't enough. It would probably be good as an emergency solution if you're on a road trip or something, but for extended trips in my campervan, it didn't work for my needs. I was already looking for a new toilet solution for my campervan when the company Trelino reached out to me and offered to send me one of their toilets. Their toilets looked perfect for my needs. They were small and compact to fit in my van. There was no DIY required, and it also had a larger urine capacity. Firstly, I'll introduce the toilet again for those of you who haven't seen the previous video, and I'll go into much more detail and answer quite a lot more of the questions that were asked. This is a separating toilet from a German company called Trelino. The model that I have is called the Evo S in the colour anthracite. There are small, medium and large sizes available. They also have toilets with wooden lids, which I think look very stylish, and there'll be an extra small model available soon. I chose this colour because firstly it matches the interior of my van, and I also think it doesn't look like a toilet. So it's actually been mistaken for a cooler quite a few times. On the outside of the toilet there are some handles. It's really easy to lift even when it's full. The toilet has an ergonomic seating design and a soft close lid. The toilet also requires no plumbing or electrics. To use the toilet, you open it up and then you sit down, and this urine separator inside will separate the number ones, which will go in the front, to the number twos, which will go in the back. This is what it looks like inside, and this is the urine separator. So on the right side, this is where the number ones will go, and then on the left side, this is where the number twos will go. You might be wondering why separate the number ones and number twos, because it's a little bit different to what a normal toilet in a house would be like. Separating the number ones and number twos helps prevent any bad smells. From my experience using the cassette toilet, which mixes the number ones and number twos, it can lead to some unpleasant odours. Next, I'll show you how I'm setting up the toilet. For the number two area, I am using bin liners. You can also use these compostable bags. However, I haven't got on very well with them, and I find that they biodegrade too quickly. After putting the bin liner in, I then add some carbon-rich cover material on the bottom. Examples include wood chippings, sawdust, fine bark mulch, or coconut coir. Then, after doing a number two, you cover it completely with the material. I've used the Trelino litter called Duff Blocker. I've also used wood chippings, which I got from a local farm shop, and coconut core, which I got on Amazon. The duff blocker has worked great and I've been very happy with it. However, it's unfortunately not available in the UK. I also like the coconut core, although you need to add water to the block and break it down, which is extra work. The wood shavings were probably my least favourite as they don't feel very substantial and they take up a lot of space in the van. Trelino told me that they're planning to launch a new sawdust type litter which should be available soon in the UK, so I'm looking forward to trying that. Someone commented on the previous video suggesting to put a bin liner and then a compost bag inside the bin liner and then only throw away the compostable bag each time, so I might try that. One of the most asked questions in the previous video was about toilet paper. So you can put the toilet paper in the number 2 area here with the number 2s. However, obviously if you put the toilet paper in there, it's going to fill up faster and you're going to have to empty it more frequently. If you do put toilet paper in here, you need to make sure it's covered completely with the cover material to prevent any smells. Another option is to put the toilet paper in a separate bag and dispose of it separately. So once all the litter is in and you've done a number 2, you can use this lid here and cover it like this. In the last video I said that I wasn't really using that lid, but actually I have been using it quite a lot recently. Putting this lid on can also help prevent any smells. Then you can put the lid back on and it looks like this, and you can use the front area for number 1s and then open it up if you need to use it for number 2s. This here is the tank for the number 1s and I will show you now how I'm setting that up. It is a container like this and it has this lid with this silicone membrane. This lid can be used when transporting it to empty. Before I use the toilet for number 1, I'm adding some white vinegar into the number 1 area. This is to help prevent any smells. When you do a number 1, it will flow into the number 1 area. After I've done a number 1, I'm spraying the number 1 area with this 50% vinegar, 50% water solution. This is again to prevent any smells and also keep the toilet clean. There's no need for any flushing, water or chemicals, and the membrane which I showed you earlier helps prevent any leaking, especially when driving. When the toilet becomes full and it's time to empty it, you need to dispose of the number 1s and number 2s separately. I have this dedicated bag that I'm using for toilet related activities, and when you transport the urine container, it's recommended to switch out the lid to avoid any spillages. Usually at the toilet disposal stations there's a hose, so I'm rinsing out the urine container here and then I'm drying it off with a towel that I only use for the toilet. Even if you're not staying at a campsite, you can sometimes go to a campsite and pay a small fee and they'll let you empty the toilet. This tank that comes with the small toilet, it holds 4.5 litres and I empty it after around 7 or 8 uses. For disposing of the number 2s, this is treated like disposing of dog waste or baby diapers. You tie up the bag, and in the UK small quantities up to 7 kilograms can typically be disposed of in regular waste. However, many people choose to use dog waste bins. On the Trelino website they recommend composting the number 2s in a regular compost bin. However, that might not be so easy if you're travelling in a van. It's best to check the local regulations where you are. Without putting toilet paper inside, I usually change the number 2 bag after 4 or 5 uses. You can dispose of it after every use if you prefer to do that. On the last video, I received quite a lot of questions about the toilet. I tried to answer as many as I could during the explanation I just gave you there, but there are a few more which I'll try and answer now. One of the questions was, does the toilet really not smell? I've been using this toilet for a year now, and from my experience, the answer is no. Odours are caused by mixing number 1s and number 2s. This toilet separates them. So the number 2s are dried out, and that prevents any bad smells. The only time I've experienced a slight smell is when I'm emptying the urine container and it hasn't been emptied for quite a few days. Another common question on the last video was about the price of the Trelino toilet and how the price can be justified. From my experience doing campervan travel for many years, the price of campervan toilets can vary dramatically. So the Nature's Head toilet that I used before, it cost over $1,000 US, and the female urinal that I also have used in the past, I think it cost around $20. The price of the Trelino toilet will depend on the size and the model that you go for. The model of toilet that I have is currently for sale for £319, and that includes all import costs into the UK. Some of you might think this price is a lot, however the toilet is manufactured entirely in Germany from high quality materials. Trelino also have a great ethos, and they collaborate with a sheltered workshop who make the lids for the toilets. They also focus on quality and durability, and the toilets are not mass produced in large quantities. And yes, of course, you could just use a bucket if you'd like to do that, or make your own DIY toilet if you have the skills. However, personally, I prefer this discreet, well-designed and aesthetically pleasing toilet over a bucket. Even though Trelino sent me this toilet, I would happily have paid £319 for it. I use it so often and it's added so much convenience to my campervan travels. It's a bit like my Starlink internet. When I shared a video about that, there were some comments about the price. However, I use Starlink internet every single day and it adds so much convenience to my life. So for me, the price is definitely worth the money. There were a few questions about periods. So if you have your period and some blood ends up going into the number 1 area, it's okay. The liquid might change colour slightly, but if you want to empty a menstrual cup, you can do that in the number 2 area, but just make sure afterwards that you cover it with the litter. And if you use tampons or pads, they should not be put inside the toilet and they should be disposed of in the normal rubbish, like what you would do when you use a normal toilet. There was also a question about if flies have got into the toilet. So I've never had any issues with flies getting into the toilet. However, I do live in Scotland, which is not a very hot or humid country. So where you live might be different. Next, I'll share my thoughts on using this toilet for a full year. I like that it's simple, there's no electrics, no plumbing, and no DIY needed. I really like that there's no water or chemicals needed in this toilet. Water is a precious resource when you're traveling in a van. I can't imagine emptying a toilet is anyone's favorite job. However, the emptying experience of this toilet is not unpleasant compared to other toilets that I've had experience with in the past. I love how this toilet looks and the fact that it doesn't look like a toilet. So I often have the toilet lying around in my van and I'm never embarrassed if someone comes over to speak to me and I have a toilet sitting there, because most of the time they don't realise it's a toilet. I love how small and compact the toilet is and the fact that I can store it inside my sofa storage area if I want it out of the way. It's great that everything is contained inside the outer bucket, so if there is a leak or overflow, everything is contained in there and it's easier to clean. I also find the toilet very easy to keep clean and maintain as there's not many parts to it. I can also use the toilet as a seat. I often have the toilet in the entrance area of my van and sometimes I sit on it when I'm putting on my shoes or doing different things. Some things to consider about this toilet. So the first one is that there's no way of checking the urine level from the outside. So you can't see the urine level and there's no urine level checker. So I've actually experienced it overflowing twice. However, it has all been contained inside the outer bucket. So it wasn't that difficult to clean. However, these days I'm trying to keep track of how many times I use it. Usually when it's around 7 times, I will then check inside to make sure how it's going. Trelino, I think, are developing a urine level checker, so if that becomes available, I'll definitely use that. Another thing is that inside the toilet there are some screws here and here, and over time these had turned rusty. So I contacted Trelino about it and they sent me out some new screws, and they also shared that all toilets now have stainless steel screws. That might have been caused by condensation, which is the next thing that I've experienced. So condensation happens when the warm fluids from your body go into the toilet, which is a colder temperature, and then sometimes condensation can appear maybe a little bit here or in different parts of the toilet. So if I see any condensation, I'm usually just wiping it with some toilet paper, and that possibly is what caused the rusty screws. So I mentioned earlier about the compost bags. So I've found that these biodegrade quite quickly and they start to disintegrate before you're ready to throw away the bag. I really do want to use these because I try and be sustainable and use less plastic and things like that in my daily life. It would be good to use these, but I have been using the bin liners. Sometimes I think that it might have been better to get a bigger toilet so that I would have had a bigger urine canister and I didn't have to empty it so often. However, it's a trade-off because I do like the size of this small toilet. So I got this extra urine canister so I can switch them out if this one becomes full and there's nowhere to empty it. And it sometimes happens when I stay in towns or cities where there's no toilet disposal place, and this is quite useful to have. I do use this quite often. Another thing with a separating toilet is that it can take a little bit of time to get used to using it, especially if you've only used toilets in a house. So if you need to do a number 2, you need to move towards the back, and if you want to do a number 1, you move towards the front, but obviously not too far back and not too far forward. So you just need to be aware about that so things don't go in the wrong place. So after using many campervan toilets over the years and using this one for a full year, I still think this is 100% my favourite campervan toilet. It's so simple and easy to use, it's small and compact, there's no plumbing or electrics, and it doesn't smell. My Trelino toilet is one of my favourite things in my van. It makes my campervan travels so convenient. I love the fact that I don't have to rely on public toilets. I don't have to go outside my van at night to go to the toilet. It is the best thing ever. I've tried to cover as much detail in the video today, but if you do have any further questions, please feel free to leave them below and I'll get back to you. The Trelino website also has lots of great information on it. If you're interested to get your own toilet, I've arranged with Trelino a coupon code. The coupon is RUTHAISLING, and this will get you $40 off in the USA, and if you're in the UK or the EU, you will get a £30 accessory set with your purchase of a toilet. If you're watching from the UK and you'd like to win a Trelino toilet of your choice, all you have to do is go to the description of this video. Down there is a link to a survey. If you fill in the survey, that will enter you into the competition, and I will announce the winner on my YouTube community tab in 3 weeks' time. I hope this long-term review was helpful to those of you who are considering different toilet options. It's been a game changer for my van travels. See you next time.